Hello, everyone. Welcome to A Dose of Pink. This channel is a place where you can come and escape and recharge and relax. You can find audiobooks from your childhood, inspirational stories, shorts, random shorts. I also want it to be a safe space because many people, many more than would like to admit it, have had some sort of childhood trauma, and I have as well. So I would like to share here five ways I am healing my inner child. This video is not therapist advice or expert advice. It is sharing what steps I'm taking, something like a journal. If it helps anyone, even better. So I was neglected in my childhood. And children who are neglected are usually brought up by parents who they themselves are dealing with or haven't dealt with their traumas. This was the case for me. And it was only when I got to my 20s that I realized how toxic my childhood was. And hey, I'm actually a good person. I and as a child, any child, all children, no child deserves to be treated the way I was treated. I was the target of my parents' anger and pretty much dislike when they noticed my existence. Otherwise, I was ignored, neglected, and that is a huge feeling of rejection. Um, and yeah, it's very hard on a young child. So I don't want this to be a pity party. It's been years of working on it. It's been a decade since my first therapy session, and it's been a journey. It's been a healing journey. I say journey because I don't know if it's a destination for me, at least. I feel like I'm working through layers or getting to different levels or degrees or going deeper and deeper, but definitely on a positive trajectory. I've come a long way. So the first way um, uh, that I'm dealing with uh, healing my inner child is I'm working on um, acknowledgement. First of all, people who have gone through trauma don't always realize how much it plays out in their daily lives. Trauma comes back at many times as a reaction, not just memories, but in the way you react to things. There's a tendency to attract toxic people who replicate harmful behavior towards you because for you it feels familiar. There's a predisposition to escape using drugs, alcohol, promiscuity to try and mask the pain or unresolved issues. Accepting that there's an issue doesn't always come easy. Hopefully, when you do, be gentle with yourself. It's okay, you're safe. Reassure yourself. This is self work, it's the unpacking. So, that's the first step, acknowledgement. Acknowledge that you were a child, pure and lovable. Acknowledge that you deserved love and you deserve love. Acknowledge that you deserved attention and you deserve attention. Acknowledge that you deserved care and you deserve care. Acknowledge that you deserved safety and you deserve safety. And acknowledge that these weren't given, yet you as a child were entitled to them by the very fact that you existed. You deserved this. So that's a huge step for many. And it can open up a lot of feelings, emotions, but it's also a release. It's also an affirmation that you deserve, that you are worthy. Acknowledge that what happened was not fair and you deserved better. Okay, so that's step one. Step two in how I'm healing my inner child is to really unpack and dissect. After acknowledging, then you get to find out in what ways, in what specific ways did these happen so that you can heal step by step. It's a painful step to unpack or dissect because it means remembering. So many times we block these memories out, they're painful. So I think you even just subconsciously do it as a protection from the pain, from the hurt. Um, but when you do remember, it may trigger also memories of or feelings that you had left behind. So take it easy, be gentle with yourself. It's okay to have these heavy feelings, to address how these play out in your life, how the trauma plays out in your life. It's important to unpack what happened. And sometimes you may need someone there with you if you'd like to go to a therapist, a professional to guide you through it, because some of the trauma that people have gone through are so heavy, and it's a delicate step to take. So it's about taking time to list the ways your inner child hurt, the incidents that happened, what you remember, the words that were said, how they were said, and how that made you feel. I think this is the most, or the things that were done, the physical abuse, and how, and remembering that. And it's good to document these, write them down, and in a table, you can write a list of what happened and how that made you feel. And then later, there's a step where you can work on how you can fill whatever whatever wasn't given to you, we can give ourselves. Okay, so that's for me, it's the most difficult step to unpack and dissect, because I don't like to remember, and remembering triggers these horrible feelings. So the third step um, is self-love, and it's such a cliche. It's such a cliche at this point, and I'm going to try and redefine it so that we take ownership of what this means, because it's so important. In the self-care circles, I've heard the phrase of to reparenting yourself, but I don't think I agree with that phrase. I find it so off. It's a sad fact that my parents failed in their roles, but my inner self, my outer self, cannot be a parent. It's a to myself. It's a role that has gone, you know. But you know what? What I have to give myself is bigger than trying to reparent. By now, you know that no one loves you like you do. You have to love yourself. It's the most repeated phrase. How do you know you love yourself? Many of our coping strategies tend to reflect the love we wish we were given and channel that to others in the hope they would love us in the way we missed. And I know I went through so many relationships just loving others excessively because I wish that was reciprocated. And it tends to be emotionally unavailable people who just don't give us what we desperately need. So it's a cycle again of disappointment, and it's reliving the rejection of the childhood. So, how do we love? We deserve that love before we give it to anyone else. Thinking back to past relationships, I would overdo the words of affirmation because I never got that growing up. And I heard someone saying that when people talk about their love languages, could it be that your love language is what you didn't get as a child? I don't know how true that is for those with balanced childhoods, but for me, it's true. So one way I found that how to how to love myself is the way that I was giving love excessively kind of pinpointed me in the direction that I needed to go. Um, talking love, talk love, literally tell yourself, I love you. I love you so much. You can even look in the mirror and say it and feel it. I love you. And I'm just smiling because, like, it feels great to say, I love you. I used to say it too much to people who didn't deserve it. And I realized that it's because it was never said to me. Literally, it was not said to me. um, so you can look in the mirror, say it, and feel it. Imagine that young girl, young boy longing to hear that. This is the time to give the love to them. The ears need to hear it. You have to say it out loud. It has an effect on you physically and emotionally. Your ears didn't hear it enough, your heart didn't feel it. You can even hug yourself, wrap those arms around you, and kiss your shoulder and say, I love you so much. I love you. Um, okay, so that's these are some of the things that I do. Um, praise yourself in your day to day. You know when you've done a good job. Praise yourself for doing something, cleaning the house, or working really well, doing really well at a task. Um, acknowledge your strengths and also acknowledge your weaknesses and love yourself regardless. Um, cut yourself some slack. Sometimes we overcritique ourselves, overpower the negative self talk with positive, and you'll find that your brain makes the positive the default voice after some time. Of course, you can get triggers that make you go back, but just train yourself to always talk good, think good about yourself, and in many therapy sessions or coaching or counseling, you're always told to write a list of your strengths and good things, things that you like about yourself, love about yourself, um, and do that not just by writing but also in practice and in acknowledging these amazing traits that you have. Um, take yourself out, spend on yourself, treat yourself well, cook for yourself, live with yourself as if it was someone you were madly in love with, because no one deserves your love like you do. Great. So, the third way. The third way I am healing my inner child. For me, this is very personal and it can be uh, a different something different for other people or um, a different approach that they would take. But for me, spirituality is a huge anchor. I'm a Muslim, so knowing that I was made to be loved and God loves me unconditionally always grounds me. And truthfully, during the darkest times, I did feel a strength and guide in leaning into religion. Step 4, write, record. It helps to articulate the feelings into words, just as you're unpacking or just thinking back, so it's not just the heart feeling the issues you're dealing with and feeling that heaviness. The mind is fired up also when things are put on paper or typed or spoken. You can kind of break it down and also find solutions. And it's also a release, definitely. And the last one, the fifth way, is realizing that this is a healing journey. Sometimes I think I've resolved a certain part, then after an experience or trigger, I spiral into the memories again. So it's truly difficult, particularly if you meet or engage with your parents as an adult. So I realized a few things because I used to just meet with them, talk to them, try to convince them or try to tell them what they did wrong, and like as if anything could change anything. Well, for me, it wasn't, they weren't getting it. So I realized a few things. I realized, number one, they will never understand the damage they caused, no matter how I explain it, no matter if I go into detail. I used to write in my diary when I was really young, so it's recorded. But they'll never understand. And then secondly, sometimes they deny your recollection, which is a huge trigger for me because I see it as an attempt to erase what the younger me went through, and it's yet another violation and disregard of me and my feelings. I went through this and I've needed to come back to these 5 ways to heal my inner child, to nurture myself back. So sharing with you and the way that I do this is really cathartic. Another thing I realized about my parents is the damage is done. Even if they acknowledge and apologize, the wound is still there. It does not miraculously make the pain go away. I once told my mom, it's as if you stab someone and say sorry. The wound is still there, and the person will always have that scar. I'm just trying to heal it so it doesn't hurt anymore. I realized that I have to grieve certain things that I will not have. So this is just letting go, let go. We're always wishing and hoping, trying to chase what is gone, what is past. So I realized I have to grieve certain things that I will not have. And these are two things. Number one, a happy childhood. It's gone. I, I I'm not gonna have that. It wasn't written for me. Um, Things happened the way they did. Um, Number two, loving parents. So this opens me up to plan what does happiness in life look like? This doesn't have to apply to you. Some people manage to build dynamics around how they relate with their parents. Some start afresh and have relationships with them, um, that relationships with them even better than when the relationship in their childhood. So for me, that didn't happen. Um, yeah, if you, I can't see having like a new parent adult child relationship and bond in that way. So for me, how I work on myself are these ways. It's a lot of acknowledging, recording, writing, spirituality, um, and loving yourself to the core. Love yourself. It's so cliche, but I hope this has helped in some way. Um, there's a poem or just some lines I wrote earlier today. Just talking to myself, because I realized, yeah, things, I can't change the past. I need to let go of this heaviness, of the resentment. I really need to let it stop blocking me emotionally. Okay, here goes. Know that your scars are witnesses of time. Be gentle with the memories so as not to relive the pain. Try to collect tears of the past together with the memories. Acknowledge that it wasn't fair. Acknowledge your closure requires no one but you as witness. As the sky and the sun and the nights and the rains of yesterday are gone, let's put this load down today. So, my biggest wish is that this load is lightened. Reliving trauma needs to stop. Let's take this journey to reclaim our happiness. Okay, now give yourself a hug and let's say together, I love you.